Okay, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi and this is Thursday night. I hope you can bring some of your Sashiko stitching stuff and then stitch together. This is the live streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing Sashiko stitching. So this is not a webinar, this is not a lecture, this is not something I teach in one direction. It is more like the place for us to stitch together. So that'd be great if you could bring something together and then listen to this as like a radio, or if you can join us in the comment section to make a discussion, that'd be great too. I will be moving my hand anyway without any editing or modifying. So I hope that it's going to be helpful as well. And that being said, I will move to the actual topics that I brought today. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to talk about it. But a question about cultural perspective aspect of Sashiko will be appreciated. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer that. Just not the technical questions. Okay, I'll move to the actual discussion. Yup. Hello, everybody, hello. It's Thursday night again. It's unbelievable how fast things move. It's like November, almost toward the end of November. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Another evening of another chit chat. If you could bring some of your stitching materials, that'd be great. If not, that's perfectly fine too. Let's have fun together by sharing some information. Where do I stitch? Sorry, my nose a little. So I brought two different topics today. One was the more like answer to the previous, one is like answer to the previous question I got, which I kind of overlooked, and I apologize for overlooking that. But one topic will be the answer to that question, and another thing is another discussion topic that I'm still holding somehow. So those are two. Let me be the rhythm first. The first topic, well, it's actually one and two are different, but the comment that I overlooked last time was that does Atsushi, do I have any Sashiko pieces made me angry? And for this question, I think my answer would be just one word. No. I don't think I have any Sashiko pieces made me angry. It's not really the Sashiko pieces, it's not really the outcome of Sashiko that makes me emotional. It's more like the attitude of those who approach to Sashiko. So what they make, I mean, as much as I don't really watch others much, so I don't know what this person was kind of imagining in their mind about something some of the Sashiko pieces might upset me. But as long as I recall, I don't have any pieces that I get upset to. Yeah, that's gonna be the answer. So I should probably elaborate this, but I don't know how I can elaborate this. It's really not the outcome that makes me feel very upset. Sometimes I feel like, when they say inspired by Sashiko, I wonder what they're inspired from or by. But that doesn't mean that I get angry about it. But if one says that like they know about Sashiko well enough to be master without even going to Japan, without even talking to Japanese people, then that's the attitude that I get quite annoyed or even emotional. That can be anger too. I hope this makes sense. And the second topic that I have here today is what is the healthy environment for the artisanship? I did not make a lot of posts on the Instagram this week because I was kind of thinking into the I was sinking into the deep thought. So I was thinking a lot, sinking in the deep and thinking a lot. And I was thinking like, what is the healthy environment, healthy ecosystem that Sashiko, or even not Sashiko, like any other craftsmanship or artisanship can maintain their activities. And in this case, money is the kind of key to jump into the discussion, and I really do not want to focus on the money perspective. At the same time, when we talk about the cultural appropriation, there are 3 P's that I always try to follow, which is the privilege, property, and also profit. And for that, the last concept of profit, I still don't have quite good understanding what is healthy, what is like reasonable, what is that. So I don't think making money by doing Sashiko is bad. It's one necessary process to make the culture somewhat alive. At the same time, I understand that there's a cultural issues between those who makes the money out of the culture they don't belong to and culture itself. I hope that I'm communicating enough that my approach to the cultural appropriation is quite simple. I keep saying like there's no such a thing as cultural appropriation in Sashiko, so please don't worry about it too much. Under one condition though, please acknowledge that there are stories behind it. So please do not simplify or limit the answers or definition by somebody's convenience. Don't let others to define your answer. That's kind of my summary. At the same time, there are quite many Sashiko artisans in Japan who cannot make living by doing Sashiko. Including my mother, I don't think we can make living by doing Sashiko only. And that is not healthy when we talk about artisanship. Sashiko is well known as the art, yet the people in origins art going out of business or out of these activities because the sustainability itself is already broken. Yet, so this can be the issue when one side of the P group who is outside of Japan can make the living by doing Sashiko, yet the people in Japan who actually do Sashiko for a long time but not good at marketing strategies, English language, anything to make a living, or they don't have enough resource capital to expand their business, they don't have the staff or organization to support them. After all, the more capital they have, the bigger they can get. And if that is happening because of the language issues, then I don't think it's fair. For that, I think cultural appropriation can be the issue for this. I still don't know. I really don't know about it. But I'm just thinking that what is the kind of healthy artisanship that we can make? So for example, this might be a little bit of an extreme example, but let's talk about thread. Like I keep saying that Sashiko thread matters, right? And there's a reason we introduced this Sashiko thread, and this Sashiko thread really matters. At the same time, unfortunately, the Sashiko manufacturer we worked with decided to close their business in the COVID. Thankfully, we could find somebody else to take over that, so we can get the similar or probably the equal quality thread. At the same time, that brand can be gone, so it is dying again. So that is a very, very difficult point that, but at the same time, the big manufacturer can keep making the thread and they can name it for Sashiko. And one side is so small, so powerless because of their capital, and they don't have the spokesperson people for that. So that can be, but again, this is the it's probably not a matter of cultural appropriation, it's the matter of capitalism. The more they have money, the better it can get. So I might be talking about something completely different, but it is quite, it's healthy. What is gonna be the healthy? But it is valuable. Is there someone whose work is collected or requested? I'm sorry, I did not follow this question. What is valuable? Sashiko pieces are valuable? I kind of missed that, sorry. And then that lead to my today's Instagram post. I really wonder, like I was thinking, I was sinking in the deep thought. I was sinking in the deep thinking phases for the last few days. And I wonder, what if I didn't speak English? I mean, the fact that I can speak English right now is a pure coincidence. Not a coincidence, but because I am like this, I did not want to take over the Sashiko. And in order to avoid Sashiko, I decided to get out from Japan to study, to get university in the US. And that's not that easy choice. So if I were very obedient, nice Sashiko artisan from the birth, and then be the, experience that if I did not go off the road, I would be probably stitching, or probably buried at this moment because my company wasn't doing that great back then. And the big corporate Sashiko Thread companies, also Japanese companies, they are also Japanese companies. So I'm not talking about non-Japanese companies which make Sashiko Thread. I don't really consider that as the competitors. They are Japanese thread company who try to make Sashiko Thread. At the same time, I wonder what they really. I wonder if they know about Sashiko. Sorry, they probably know about Sashiko. I wonder if they actually stitch. That's the key. So we are not a thread manufacturer. There are people who are not thread manufacturers. We are Sashiko artisans who happen to make the Sashiko thread in the process. They are the thread manufacturer who happen to make Sashiko thread. So that's the difference. Where they start. So this is probably not a. It's not a VS. It's not a versus cultural capitalism versus cultural appropriation. This is probably not even cultural appropriation. This is the capitalism issue. It is happening because of the capitalism and because they were weak in terms of the capitalism society, they lost. And that's probably how simple it is. That's how simple it is. It was. At the same time, the reason I kind of mix with the English or cultural appropriation, I did not plan to. I happen to mix with that with the cultural appropriation is that because of the language issue, there's a little bit of the language kicks in. I just wonder if I had this much English ability 20 years ago, would it be different? And opposite, if I were not being able to speak English today, none of my stories will be above the surface. So in that case, what is fair? What is reasonable? What is the boundaries there? What kind of materials is that you're using? We are using the Sashiko needle for design for Sashiko, Sashiko thimble for design Sashiko, and Sashiko thread design for Sashiko. So pretty much everything I use is designed for this purpose. And there's a reason for that, and there's a videos explaining why we keep using the specific tools and supplies. And everything is available from our website because we try to keep making those. Fabric, of course, the fabric is important, and we do use this indigo fabric often, but fabric can be quite flexible. This is the best fabric we can stitch on in terms of experience, but we did not make the specific fabric for Sashiko. Well, if this was the fabric we made, we did not make it, so we found it. But other materials and tools, thread, needle, thimble, those are really specific because of our experience. God. So yeah, today's conversation may be the issue of capitalism, which is capitalism is not really something we can control. You know, there's so much discussion about capitalism, and some people don't like it, some people are very, in that. At the same time, we all have to be part of the capitalism somehow because we live on the money. So it's probably nonsense to talk about it, but at the same time, I wonder what is the healthy artisanship we can create from now on. I don't know about the past. We can learn from the past, but I don't, I know that I cannot do anything about the past. Atsushi's fabric is great for learning Sashiko. It's a good weight and weave that makes learning easy-ish. At least with his fabric, the fabric is not barrier to learning. Easy-ish. But again, fabric is, I don't want the fabric to be barrier. But the most important thing is the problem. I can still say that it's the thread. It's cotton 100% fabric, it's cotton 100% thread, needles and thimble. Like if I it's like wondering if is kind of it's not a best way to spend days, especially in stitching. It's really not a good way to enjoy stitching, to think about whether or wondering if, what if. It's not a good way to enjoy stitching, but it is sometimes good to think about it, I guess. But I think, the what if is more like thinking about another line of the world that I could have lived. What if I did not come to the US to study? That's gonna be another line of the world that, like parallel world that I would be staying in Japan, will not be able to speak, communicate to you like this. Will never be understanding the cultural appropriations issue because that would be very outside of my routine. And I probably did not even feel the pain because I wouldn't have the ability to understand the pain or experience the pain. So everything I go through right now would not be happening if I did not speak or understand any English. At the same time, because I speak English and I can speak, I can communicate, or I can verbalize what I think without any filters. I don't even think right now in Japanese. I think in English and then it's coming from my brain. There's no filters in between. So that's my value. That's the value that I can provide. So for that, how can we as like how can I preserve the healthy artisanship across the culture in the capitalism? So that is quite great. I have the needles and the board thread from Japan. It is the materials I didn't know what you were using. may not be the so the made in Japan itself is not qualifying to be the good material. So yeah, it does not mean it is good. Unfortunately, I do not specify the manufacturer or brand because that's not my intention. But made in Japan itself is not always my recommendation. But yeah, you will find my recommendation on this YouTube channel. I really specify what is my recommendation and the reason behind it too. Good recommendation comes with the stories behind. Like, I would like to make sure that artisanship can be sustainable somehow. At the same time, it is quite unrealistic to even hope for that. It's okay. The more I think about it, it's not an issue about cultural appropriation, it's more like capitalism. But the more, in my memory, those people who had a lot of sort of like, I don't want to say true artisanship, but those who were very good at stitching in Sashiko, they did not really pay attention to the money per se. That's something I kind of limit myself as well. My ability is I may be too business-like, or I may be thinking about that too much. That's why my Sashiko is not that great in comparison to my memory Sashiko artisans. Adrian, thank you. That's a great question. Capitalism, fast fashion that produce cheap clothing that are easily replaceable, so hand sewing at home is no longer a necessity. So preserving the tradition has to be deliberate because no one truly needs to do it anymore. That's so we all work so hard to not to be able to do it, right? For example, we don't want to wash dishes every night, therefore the human being invented the dishwasher. We did not want to wash every clothes with using the washing board, so we, as the human, invented the washing machine. And that's more like a primitive innovations. Like there's a need and we don't want to do it, so there's a solution. And internet accelerated everything to pretty much everything got so much speed, and we can order something from another country by just one click. So we are living in sort of the dream world right now. So nobody can actually follow the principle of Sashiko because they did not have a choice to go through the fabric but stitching. And we have a choice not to stitch. We enjoy stitching itself. That's really not that's not really the principle of Sashiko. So we are already practicing something very much modified. But sometimes we try to preserve that culture by understanding or acknowledging those stories. At the same time, as Adrian said, that it has to be quite deliberate. Yes, and in this case, deliberate is probably mindful when I like it's pretty much the same thing as what she said, what you said, what sorry he said, what you said, what they said. Like, why are you doing this? Make like probably the story why you are doing this is going to be a choice to make the future. And I hope that a collection of those choices will be the healthy artisanship. When we follow the so I kind of categorize too big, like this is a very rough and very unsophisticated categorization, so I don't like it, but this is easy to categorize, so I'm gonna categorize it. There are two materials. There's a big category of two big categories. One is the materials or supplies or tools that people who use it decided to invent because they need it. The other side is that they are companies who are making similar things decided to make another product because to expand their business. Those are the same product, same items, something we pay for, yet there are different stories behind it. And I kind of separated, but it's not mutually exclusive. It can be both. And it is usually both. It's like 80% here, 20% there, maybe 50-50. But like, why are you using this specific thread, specific needle, specific thimble? Well, I'm sharing the stories because that's important to us. We need that. Like the regular Sashiko thread itself, well, I mean, the thread, if the thread itself is going to be enough, we wouldn't be doing that. But it's not gonna make our Sashiko. It's not really the our skill to make it Sashiko. It's more like fabric and thread. Thread is the key. So I think, on you being deliberate, I could say that. I could say that a few minutes ago. I am being deliberate by sharing my stories. I am probably. I'm not realizing it, but I am. I think we all struggle with this now, how to support artisans, quality product, and etc. compared to the next day's delivery cheap product from Amazon. Yeah, but Amazon is so convenient. So I don't want you to take this, today's mumbling, as the accusation for the current world. I understand it. I really understand it. That's why I don't say, if you don't use the Sashiko thread we recommend, it's not Sashiko. I never say that, right? I hope I never say that. Like, I want you to use the Sashiko thread we recommend, because that's gonna support the artisan in Japan as well. So not only the actual Sashiko stitching itself, it comes with a lot of stories, and you will, and by using what we recommend, I hope we can keep offering the same materials, but that requires a little bit of healthy ecosystem or circulation or sustainable circulation. At the same time, I understand. It's very easy to get any thread or any fabric or any thread, any needle, any thimble from Amazon, on the Facebook page of Sashiko. When you ask for the advice, you will probably get an answer like, why don't you get it from Amazon? And it is very easy, and you probably can Google anything at this moment and you will get answer. It can be copy of something, it can be, they might say that they taught themselves, but it might be copy of something, but you will find the answer you want. So we live in the world where everything is very quick, and we sometimes have to depend on that. In other words, there's nothing wrong with that, but we may experience something wrong in the future by us choosing the convenience today. We may have to experience greater inconvenience tomorrow. And that's kind of what I feel like. That's what I meant by the healthy artisanship. It will be too late to bring it back. It is very almost impossible to revive it. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to revive it. It's not impossible to bring it back. But it is much easier to preserve it. Like preserving is not going to take a lot of cost. And I think the reason I kind of brought it to the cultural appropriation is that because of the profit kicks in a very big portion in this cultural issue. And often fast, convenient, big global, those, the big capitalistic organizations do not have this as the barrier. Language itself is not going to be the barrier for those big companies because they can hire somebody. They have somebody inside. But those who, let's say that a single Sashiko artist or artisan in Japan, do they speak English? No, none of them. As long as I know, none of them. I'm the first one. That's why I get attention. That's my privilege. And there's many Japanese people who can speak English and who found Sashiko later on and they decided to teach. But let's say with like 30-40 years of experience, there are some who can probably speak English, but they're not willing. We have to really convince. So, what was I saying? It is quite difficult to, the English language can be the barrier. My mother will never be on the anywhere if I don't think she would be anywhere. She would be like, as I often say that she's the genius. She is, I think she's genius. She's very talented. Her art is going to, if somebody can make Sashiko the art, she is the one. My own mother, although I said that Sashiko is not an art, my own mother can probably make it art. So I'm very proud of her, but sometimes her work can be buried in history quite easily because she does not have English ability. She does not like speaking up. She does not like speaking up. She does not like verbalizing her ideas. And she's not, she doesn't have that much capital per se. So it's kind of a miracle that I can introduce her to the world. and that's my pleasure. But it's coincident. It's like a miracle, and I am pretty sure that there are a lot more like her who I don't know, who was not introduced. And that's a kind of big loss. For me, I think it's a big loss. Yeah, it's not a cultural appropriation. Is it? It's not, right? It is quite difficult to... I mean, I don't think there's a need to categorize the issues, but... Where was I doing? What was I doing? Yeah, I wish that there would be more voice from Japan who do not mind speaking up in English. Well, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best to convince others to speak up. So please give me some time. And in order to do that, I need their trust. Right? We are all different artisans, and each artisans are quite defensive. Like, it's not like, hey, what's up? I want to take a video of you. Can we collaborate? It's not gonna be like that. Like, even to meet somebody, you have to go through very proper procedures. And I am trying my best to do it. I know I'm Japanese, so I can follow that. By following it, I hope that I can go a little bit of the inner circle. And I hope that I can, sort of translate without interpretation so that I can speak on their behalf. At the same time, if there's anybody who can speak English about Sashiko, I would love to, and I will. It's the next year's resolution. I will bring them up. But it takes some time. So this, like, I probably talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I don't remember. But I used the word simplification. The Sashiko introduced in English is simplified and romanticized. The simplification happens because of the 3 process. And if this was done intentionally, that's whole another story, whole another issue. But sometimes it is done unintentionally. Oops. Just a second, okay. One is, the 3 steps is quite simple yet problematic. One is the interpretation within the Japanese language. Even if I speak the same language with them, I cannot 100% represent them unless we spend, quite enough time together. So what I share on the website, or like even if I have a collaboration with some other Sashiko teachers in Japan, that will be my interpretation when I verbalize that. Then there will be the process of translation, which hugely depend on somebody's ability to translate. At the same time, the language structure of English and Japanese are quite difficult to translate when it comes to the cultural context. Like as I cannot translate wabi-sabi clearly and sufficiently. And then once the contents got translated, there will be another interpretation there individually. So the interpretation of the translation of interpretation, of course, it's gonna be a little bit simplified or even transformed. Last week's session was really, really good. I learned a lot. What did I talk about? What did I talk about? What was that? I think I rewatched it. Did I rewatch it? I have so much issues. I don't have any memory whatsoever. Wow, I don't remember anything. This is the issue. When I stitch, I don't use my brain. That's good that I can talk, like, you know, because I don't use my brain on here, I can do the live streaming, but at the same time I am not using my brain, so I don't probably recall anything. Yay. I don't remember exactly the main topic, but I got a better understanding putting your energy into your Sashiko. That's good. I shall rewatch it too. This might help a little bit, but the best comment, the best reply I remember, like the reply, the comment that makes me very, very, very happy. Actually, the best comment, best reaction, best action I can get from somebody who wants to learn Sashiko is to meet. In person, online, doesn't matter. But if I can have a personal relationship with them, that is the best thing I can think of. And that's, you know, I would like to continue that relationship. Once they learn Sashiko from me, I would like to consider them as like a friend who share the same interests, same not understanding, same form. Like we are starting from the same place. So, but the best comment besides that, the next best comment I get on the Instagram or YouTube is that when they explain their struggle, that they don't understand what I'm saying. So the comment is usually like this: I understand that I don't understand you 100%, but every time I read, every time I hear, every time I listen to, I feel like I'm getting closer to what you're describing. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. It's probably easy to give you a very, very, very simple answer. That can probably make me more famous. That can probably increase the sale. Many people will be happy right after hearing that because they can just believe that. But I know that offering so easy answer will not only even simplify, but might mislead or slim it down. The most important thing, the most delicious part of the thing will be shut off, and I don't want to do that. So what I share does not probably make sense. it makes sense when I write it in Japanese to Japanese people. That's why my writing in Japanese is so small, so short in comparison to English. But this is not because of my, I hope it's not because of my English ability, but it's not about your ability or your willingness or your attitude. It's just simply different. And it takes some time. And there is a lot of triggers that I kind of put in. So some triggers might be your trigger, something might be a worse trigger, better trigger. So I hope one day that we don't have to talk about it as long as we kind of can. There's gonna be the moment that we can come to the agreement without mentioning that. It's so philosophical, but that's as simple as I can get. You're good and bad, happy, sad, mad, extra, and it made me realize a big difference between Sashiko and Embro is that, yeah, the outcome itself is important, but it's kind of, again, secondary. In my Sashiko, mine, okay? There are Sashiko which emphasize the result as well, so. Sashiko is not about design. Susan's comment, embroidery and Sashiko in English is about the design of stitching, but now about putting your whole body into the stitching. Yeah. If I read out, it's kind of scary, but it is probably what I'm saying. Before, a few hundred years ago, it had to be like that. Right now, we have a choice. But I don't want to kind of simplify it. Like, we can say Sashiko is the one design, but then I will lose a lot of sense that I kind of received from my family and other artisans. "16 months since the in-person." I really appreciate those who kind of stick with me. It comes and goes. The rhythm is come and goes. Form is come and goes. Sometimes we feel like we can do it. Sometimes, nothing happens. And I don't say it out loud, so please keep it here, okay? Please keep it here. Nobody's cutting and pasting this kind of live streaming, so I'm gonna be feeling safe about it. But I never put it anywhere. But it's unlimited support. If you take my workshop even once, it has to be 6 hours length at least if it's in person, or online Sashiko class. Well, online Sashiko class, I say that everywhere. But if you kind of get lost completely, just contact me. I will be happy to, I'll be happy to help. That's how Sashiko is personal. Some people may find it very, very easy right after the workshop. Some people may struggle a little bit and then come back. It is perfectly fine to not to use the form I teach, but it is unlimited support wise. But if I write it down, then it becomes the obligation. Well, it is the same thing. It is the obligation already, but at the same time, it's kind of scary. Because when one thinks that they can get unlimited support, they might just give up to try. But in order to really learn what Sashiko is, they have to challenge themselves at some point. Because what I teach is just the beginning of learning. It's like writing, like, it's like getting the driver's license. It's just the first day of getting the driver's license. Whole journey of driving, getting accident, getting ticket. You don't want to go through those things. Going to the road trip, trying, well, overfill the gas because you became like, you decided to be stingy in the time, so you try to add more after the kicks in. Some, like, rip-off dealers conversation, struggle, how changing the oil by myself sometimes, and then decided to go to, like, like a quick service because that's much easier. Anyway, like, those whole journey about car start from getting the driver's license. I am not saying like my teaching is like a license. They don't need license to start Sashiko, but I want to make sure that it's the start. It's not the end. Nobody goes to the driver's license school to get a driver's license as the goal, right? Like, I got a driver's license and I'm really happy I'm not gonna drive anymore. That does not make sense. I mean, I'm not, if there are people like that, that's perfectly fine, but there's another journey coming up. I get a driver's license and then another journey starts. Getting the driver's license is the goal, but it's not the end of that driving. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but I feel like I understand the message. See, this is the whole point. This is the whole point. I am not sure exactly how to say it because we don't have the word for that. But you feel like you are, okay, I kind of understand you. And that's the phase that I would like to be. And I am there with other Japanese people because we share the Japanese language and culture together. We don't have to really explain what it is, but we have it. So that's kind of an ideal place to go. Well, not even ideal, that's the goal of me teaching and sharing those stories. Sorry. Oopsie. Come on. よかった。Okay. It's been 1 hour. Okay, I have this much I have this much thread, so I will complete that. But before that, I will just go put the one ad so that YouTube is not gonna bother me saying like I'm gonna add ad. So it's gonna be there might be some ad right now. Sorry for that. No. Well, it is. These live streaming is pretty much the scream. Scream? Am I screaming? It's like a raw voice, raw, like first source of what Sashiko is from actually a Japanese footage. And there are so many people in Sashiko because of the popularities. But there's a big, not a big, but there's a very clear judgment, not a judgment, clear standard where I trust that person or I try to listen to that person or not. It's not being Japanese or it's not being like, good at it, or it's not how artistic they are. There's one thing, if they stitch or not. Those who think that they know about Sashiko without stitching, I don't think they would get it. It is perfectly fine to like Sashiko without stitching. Some people might just like the Sashiko itself and they might want to wear that. They might want to use it as the art. That's perfectly fine, and I really don't have any issue with that. Not everybody have to stitch. But if they consider themselves as the Sashiko teacher, then they have to stitch. Well, Sashiko master, they have to stitch. And I can tell that who is stitching, who is not stitching. And I try not to, not even try not to, I don't trust anybody who doesn't stitch in that context. So it's very important for me to keep stitching as well because I don't want to lose my own credibility. And that's, I will be always here stitching, no matter how different world become. Only things I can do is this, so. Sashiko is quite simple, so you might like it at some point, you might just get bored at some point. It's something we cannot control, but one thing I would like to mention is that you are always welcome to come back. Well, of course, you're always welcome to stick with it. But one day I hope that I'm looking for the as much as I said that, it's gonna take some time to understand what we're talking about, I am still searching. I'm still looking for the way to explain that. But that's my responsibility. I cannot say, you have to spend this many hours of stitching, or you may have to listen to my explanation that many hours. It is what it is right now, unfortunately. But it is my responsibility to try to improve my explanation. There might be the way. So I hope I will find a way to explain that. Well, this is a quite good resolution because my previous worry was, if I would lose this culture, like I would not see this culture in, like, say 10 years from now, 20 years from now. My goal was to pass down this culture to the next generation. I have the same goal, but sometimes I kind of feel confident that it will be. Something is changing little by little, but I see so many people using this thimble with using the same posture pretty much. Some of the teaching are missing a very, very important part of my teaching, so they did not copy well enough. But at the same time, I see so many Sashiko videos with the exact same form, not exact, but the very similar form. So, 6 years ago, it did not happen. We did not find any of those videos. So, regardless of what I'm saying, it is somewhat spreading. And I hope that sometimes they will try to look for the upstream where it comes from, and then they will come to this live streaming. And all of this is archived. So I hope that anybody can listen to this and find their own answers to that. So it is like, it will be there. I like a quick word in Japanese when you speak English. Did I say that? Did I say some Japanese today? えは日本語か。Did I say よかった？どっこいしょとか言った？ Okay. So there are some Japanese that I kind of use it in the flow of English no matter what, which my daughter catch pretty well. It's really, really, like, I do have two languages in my brain, which is quite interesting. And I used to kind of mix everything up, but I feel like right now it's like a switch, like on and off. So when I want to speak English, like I switch on. But for some reasons that sometimes it got turns off. Okay. So I don't think I overlooked any other comments. I'm very bad at replying the comments on the YouTube. There's a reason for that, because they get some, spam is everywhere. So Instagram, I don't reply that often. YouTube, I look at it and I don't reply often. Where do I reply often? Emails, I guess. So I sometimes overlook the questions about some cultural aspect of Sashiko through the live session, not a live session, live streaming. But if you have a question about Sashiko, again, cultural perspective, not a technical one, because technical one, please take my workshop or watch this YouTube channel. I pretty much explain everything from the technical perspective. Yeah, so if you have any question about cultural perspective, in order to though fully enjoy Sashiko, probably understanding from the cultural perspective is also beneficial. So if you have questions, please write it from the comment section. I will try to bring it to the next one. And the question I overlooked from the previous one is that, do I have any Sashiko pieces made me angry? The answer is no. I don't recall any Sashiko pieces that have made me angry. It's not an outcome that I become emotional. It's more like the attitude or how to approach Sashiko that made me emotional. So, I don't really feel the necessity of using the word inspired. If you think it's Sashiko, go ahead to call it Sashiko. But you don't have to call it Sashiko if you don't want to too. So it's not really the Sashiko pieces. I will think about it. I may have something. Especially when I was in my family business, let's say 12 years ago. I may have something, but I don't remember well. So I'll think about it a little more. And then first topic was, what is the healthy environment for artisanship? So how can we sustain the healthy environment for the artist and artisan? And this was, I kind of linked this topic to the cultural appropriation, but it was not about it, I guess. It's more like the broader issues we have. Yeah, I don't think I can summarize that in one word, one sentence today. But it's this very similar topic. I try to approach those questions from many other angles every time, every week. So that'd be great if you could keep coming back. Sashiko is more than just stitching, and unfortunately there are another trend saying like Sashiko is just for the stitching, and for that they focus on just design and also technique. And that's not wrong. That's not wrong, but that's a very simplified version of Sashiko, and it can very skew. That's the word, skew. The most delicious part of Sashiko is missing in that case. Design can be beautiful, technique can be beautiful, technique can be great without even intending to make it beautiful. That's how we do it. We don't really, like, the those stitches, the fabric I'm stitching on. Many questions I should have answered this question is that what do I use these fabric for? The question is the answer to that question, I don't know. I have not decided yet. It's specifically prepared for the live streaming because I don't have to think when I stitch this pattern. If I have to think, I might not speak as much. So this is for the live streaming. And once I'm done, I don't know what I'm going to do next. But for me, it's the kind of process to express. Of course, I do some other Sashiko for the outcome purpose or result-oriented purpose. But this is the Sashiko we practice. All right, I thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko live streaming on Thursday night. Tomorrow is the Japanese live, but the time difference is different right now. It has become 14 hours difference from the Eastern time to Japanese time, so be careful with that. Everybody else, I hope you can come back next Thursday as well, and I hope you have a good night.